Podcast Fresh.
Square Enix taking a huge L. A huge L on the forehead. Oh man, so we've talked about how the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth sales apparently haven't been too good because Square hasn't said anything about them. There is a question to be asked. What's going on? Why isn't this game a big success? Because, review-wise, it reviewed very well. 9s out of 10s, 10s out of 10s. That's all I saw. I've played it. I've beaten it. I'm on the verge of platinuming it. I think it's fantastic. I love that game. One of my favorite games of all time, I'll even say. It's definitely made that list. It is on a property that I care deeply about, so I'm always going to have that, bias. But if the game is trash, I'll say it's trash. But the game's not trash. The game's excellent, The game is fantastic. Square Enix reports basically that they are going to take a $140 million hit in basically abandoning what they have going on. So the games that they have working on, maybe games that are finished, games that are almost finished, they're basically abandoning it, content abandonment, and it's almost like they're wiping the slate clean. They're gonna shift their focus on what they were doing and start fresh in a way, and I think that's great news. I really do think that's great news as a consumer. If you're Square Enix, this sucks. If you're Square Enix, this sucks ass. But as a consumer that cares deeply about some of the properties that Square has, I'm happy about this. I feel like Square was wasting a lot of time on bullshit like Foam Stars, bullshit like the Avengers game that they had out with Crystal Dynamics, or was it Crystal? No, who did the Avengers game? I'm thinking of the Guardians of the Galaxy game, which was actually pretty good. It was published by Square Enix, but it's like, I don't know, man. I feel like Square lost their way at some point, And when Final Fantasy 15 came out, almost 10 years ago, that's one of the best-selling Final Fantasies. I believe that is the best-selling Final Fantasy. I'm not sure, but that's definitely when they went more into the action route rather than the turn-based RPG route. And then every game after 15 has kind of been a dud compared to the success that 15 had. When you look at things like Stranger of Paradise, which is what the hell is that? Why did we need that? We didn't need that. You could have kept it. It could have been scrapped today with this $140 million loss. It could have been in that list of games. You have Stranger of Paradise. You have Foam Stars, which was absolutely garbage. Then you have Final Fantasy 16, which I love. I love that game. It's fantastic. But why would you put out Final Fantasy 16 and then 6 or 9 months later or whatever it was, you put out Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth? It's what is going on over there? Why would they do that? Because when I saw Final Fantasy 16 come out at the time that it did, I knew, or at least I thought I knew, that Rebirth was going to be at least a year later. At the very least, maybe a year and a half. I thought there's no way they're going to release 2 major Final Fantasies pretty much in the same year. Because it is within a year of itself. And they did. And I think that definitely hurt sales. And it is a bit of a Final Fantasy overload when you really think about it since 2021, 2022. Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Final Fantasy Pixel Collection, Pixel Remaster Collection, whatever the hell it is, Final Fantasy Ever Crisis, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, Final Fantasy 14 fucking expansion, Dawn Trail, whatever it is. It's just a lot. It's a lot. And me, even I am saying this, and I am a hardcore fan of that series. Not every game. I don't play 14. I didn't care for, I beat Stranger of Paradise, but I didn't care for it too much. I love 7. I love Final Fantasy 7. I love Final Fantasy 8, 9, 10. 13 is kind of a hit and miss with me. I've come around on it a little bit in the past couple years, but whatever. I loved 15. 15 got me into the series, believe it or not. I am a late Final Fantasy fan. Love 15. I'll always have fond memories of 15. Loved 16. Loved 7 Remake. Loved 7 Rebirth. But what's happening? You know, I honestly feel like the demographic for Final Fantasy has just kind of been going down in the past couple of years. I feel like older people like myself that grew up with the Final Fantasy games still are fans of the series, but I think young people couldn't give a shit less, to be honest, because some people that I hang out with, some people that I talk to, they could be in their early 20s. They don't care about Final Fantasy, man. They don't clamor for it. It's not something that they look fondly on because they weren't there for the time that it was super popular, right? And I do feel like Square is feeling that. I do feel like Final Fantasy isn't as in demand as it once was. And that sucks for me because, you know, I love it, but it's the truth. And Final Fantasy VII Rebirth sales, when you talk about that, when you see Final Fantasy Remake hitting 7 million on, you know, putting the game out into the wild on PS4 when there's 100 million PS4s in the wild and it only sold 7 million, I think that's still a pretty good number, don't get me wrong, but Remakes selling 7 million during a pandemic when things weren't as super expensive as they are now, and you have an install base of 100 million plus and people are bored at home and they just want to play video games now, I think Rebirth never really had a chance to even reach 7 mil. You know, Remake is what got people in. Now the sales are kind of gonna decrease because Rebirth is like the sequel, and if no one played Remake, or whoever didn't play Remake, I don't think they're playing Rebirth, you know, for the most part. So it is a decline. Now Square has, you know, other things coming out. Of course, the third Final Fantasy VII game is still probably in the pipeline. I don't think they would scrap that. I'd be pissed. But that's coming out. Dragon Quest 12. That was announced. That's got to be coming out at some point. The Dragon Quest 3 pixel remaster that they did, or the HD 2D remaster that they were going to do, I was actually kind of hyped for that. I never played Dragon Quest 3, so I really love that art style and that engine, so I was down to try it, but it looks like that was revealed like 2 or 3 years ago. You know, we haven't gotten an update since. That's probably a game that was scrapped. Who knows? There's probably some Secret of Mana games that are scrapped, some Dragon Quest games that are scrapped, some Final Fantasy remasters that are scrapped, some new IPs that are scrapped. Like, there's just a lot, you know? Like, there's games that we're never gonna play, and that bums me out for sure. But I'm happy, because I think Square's finally realizing that they can't put out bullshit like Forspoken, and bullshit like Stranger of Paradise, and bullshit like Foam Stars. I'm glad this happened. I'm glad that they took a goddamn hit like this. It's time to wake up. You guys can do better. It's like all these game companies are fucked, honestly. Like, they put out some bullshit that we're just supposed to eat up. All the microtransaction-y shit I'm so sick of. The live service games I'm so sick of. And I'm not even accusing Square of that kind of stuff, but like, just in general, video games have become so like icky, you know? Like, that's why I look back at like retro games so much more fondlier. Like, and I know like there's always been bullshit with that too. Like, gaming in general in all of its history has had its ups and downs. But I would rather take my GameCube era, my Wii era, my PlayStation 3 era over this current shit any day. You know, we still get banger games. Some of the best games of all time. I'll even say that. But the crap surrounding it nowadays with social media and this censoring bullshit, like Stellar Blade is like, no one's talking about Stellar Blade the game. They're talking about Stellar Blade, the controversy with the main character and how she's dressed and how she's like not a real looking woman, even though she really is, guys. There's women like that out there. It's, yeah, the whole thing is icky. And I want to play Stellar Blade. I do. But the whole thing's got me turned off. Like, I don't want to like engage in this shit. It's just crap. It's just crap. Modern video games are just full of crap, honestly. Alright, that's my little rant. Back on topic. Square Enix taking a $140 million hit in content loss, or content abandonment, as they say. It sucks for them. It's great for the consumer. I hope that they can get back to making great games again. I hope they, switch on their priorities. I hope they still aren't looking at NFTs or any of that shit. That sucks. But yeah, we'll see what happens going forward. Honestly, I'm kind of excited now to see like what the next plan is. What the next thing is. I hope that they can bounce back and make good stuff.